Alrighty, hello every folks, and good morning. Welcome to a review finally here for Against the Storm. Now, this is a very unusual game because on paper it looks like an RTS, or an RTS with stop and go, as I'm sure most of us play. But effectively, what we're looking at here is essentially a game that would on paper be argued to be a RTS where you're primarily fighting against nature rather than, a sort of enemy on the other side there. And obviously from the name, that's what they were going for as well, but it's a bit more than that. So first of all, I want to say thank you to the developers for going and reaching out to actually provide a code for this. This game's absolutely incredible, and frankly, the kind of meditative peace of mind that it gives is just really something that I needed this week, so thank you for that to them. Anyway, with that said, let's go ahead and kind of explain our situation here. So this is more or less what it looks like. So that map that you just saw is one of many, I guess you could say, battle maps, as it were. You go out, you find a location that you like, you build a settlement, and for every one of those resources that you bring back, you can further upgrade yourself back at base. That's the sort of surface level of why you're exploring. But with every one of these seals that you run into, so that's going to be these over here, you have what's effectively this game's version of a boss fight, wherein you're essentially going in and looking to increase the sort of length of how long you can stay out in this area. So like in this case, I've already done the lead and silver seals, and those are just sort of out there. So I'm trying to find the next seals that are out there, trying to find the next thing to go and beat. But the interesting thing about this is these maps that we saw, every time that you're going out, you're running into a series of different modifiers. So for example, we click over here and what kind of conditions are we looking at? So we see that the conditions are potentially very taxing. There's going to be more rain than anything else. We see that they've got a diverse amount of vegetation here, so each tree provides different resources. But on top of that, the forest is as scary as it is beautiful. Villagers have a 3% chance of producing double yields. So that's a good thing, but there's also three kind of scary things that we don't know about yet. And these can be anything. Anything from, for example, the sort of queen that runs this whole operation decides that a certain area has higher taxes, and so you have to pay money every season, or your sort of doom counter thing constantly goes up. Or let's say the soil isn't good for vegetation, and so you have to find alternative sources of food, maybe scavenging for bugs, making ant colonies so people can eat, or I guess termite mounds and stuff like that. Or let's say in other situations, just people don't believe in luxury anymore, or there's a religion nearby that makes it so that you're not allowed to prefer one group over another for the purpose of improving their morale. Because you can basically boost up one of the races of people that you have over the others in order to prevent a sort of tantrum spiral, as it were, of people leaving. Or just kind of any number of different things can potentially happen. Like you start off with, let's say, a giant bug that runs a sort of side business instead of having as many orders coming in. Or in other cases, you just don't get any orders whatsoever, and you just have to figure out how to win without your usual victory condition. So there's just this constantly building sort of thing where you're always getting interesting new modifiers to every map that you go to the farther you go out, and you're constantly unlocking new mechanics. So like actually let's go back real quick and go back to the home base there, and we'll see that with every new thing that we unlock, we're potentially getting more and more kind of new mechanics, as it were. So I'm down here at the relatively low side of things, and so let's say we go over here, and okay, we're gonna have permanent reduction in fuel costs. We've got different bonuses that we can pick at the very start, so we'll go ahead and just kind of grab one of those because it's there. And in other cases, let's say you've got different things you can bring along. Sometimes you get stat upgrades, but in other cases, let's say you unlock new races of things, or different things arriving, or different modifiers that can happen at the start of fights. I say fights, but you know what I mean. And so you're constantly getting these new types of maps to run into. So while the formula is on paper you doing the same thing over and over, you do have new events, new modifiers happening constantly. Like, let's see, cutting through the thicket, your caravan stumbles upon a stormbird egg, your instinct screams to leave it in peace and flee before its mother comes back, but who hasn't dreamed of having a pet stormbird, at least for a while? So we can either steal the egg and we get -2 resolve during the storm for two games worth of stuff, but we gain a bunch of eggs, or we perform a ritual, we lose 5 of our fragments, and we gain a blessing. What's that blessing? I kind of want to do that just for the purpose of blessing. Let's see. In return, you'll get 15% bonus to global production speed for the entire duration of this cycle. That's kind of insane, actually. I'm going to do that. Okay, so we're going to ritually sacrifice their baby, I guess. And now we just basically get cheat mode. Sure, why not? Okay, so what do we have here? Severity, punishing. Difficulty, veteran. Okay, so we're going to thoroughly get annihilated. The royal woodlands are very lush and rich in timber. Trees give more wood, but we have 4 scary events that we don't really... Okay. Do we do that one? I think we do, just for the purpose of looking at it. Sure. So we'll take some additional people, and we'll go ahead and take some additional food. And apparently I lost one of my points from last time, but we'll just go with this and hope it works out. So when you get into these maps themselves, the reason that I call this game something of a meditation garden is that every one of these maps just basically allows you to stop and go at will in order to just sort of deal with problems as you see fit. You won't always have the resources that you want. You won't even have the buildings that you want half the time. And so your job is to sort of adapt using whatever you have on hand. Sometimes you need to buy stuff from out of state. Sometimes you need to find alternative sources for things. In other cases, you might need to sacrifice certain types of buildings that you run across or whatever else. Alright, so let's see what we ran into here. So, Looming Darkness, very simple mystery here. So, Rampaging Storm stifles the spirit of all living creatures. An additional stack of this effect is added for each hostility level. So basically, your hostility level is how far you explore. So the more you explore, the more angry the world gets. Flooded Roads. As a result of heavy rainfall during the storm, the cost of trade routes is increased by 2. So we're basically not using trade routes this time. Unearthly Element. The Firekeeper's power weakens in the face of an otherworldly force. The maximum number of sacrifice stacks in the Ancient Hearth is lowered to 1. So we can't even counter this effect over here by burning more wood, which is how you'd usually do it. Humid Climate. The humidity in this region is unbearable. Fuel consumption in Hearths is increased by 20% for each hostility level. What do you have against my fireplace, game? Rot from the Sky. The rain smells like blight rot. Global food production is slowed by 15% for each hostility level. So we basically will stop producing food if the forest gets angry, which means that we probably won't be exploring very much. We're just kind of going to have to deal with what we got. Okay, fair enough. So we start off with a fairly unfortunate start here, but whatever, we're here and we'll deal with it. So we want to uncover as few glades as possible, ideally. So I'm just going to go immediately for the ones down here so that hopefully we can counter some of these events. I'm going to go for 2 woodcutting camps as I usually do, and we're going to go ahead and build several different houses. We started off with beavers. So I'm going to go ahead and build, actually I'm just going to go with my usual 6 houses. Usually like to build 1 workstation, and then additionally we'll add a makeshift post over here right next to this thing, which will be useful later. And then from there, that's kind of just what we're going to deal with. So we've got 9 people, so we're going to go ahead and put most of them on trees. And so the reason that you're chopping trees is because this world effectively resets itself every few years or so. You go out, you do the best you can, you sort of make a trail of places going out as far as you can, and then you attempt to go deal with whatever problems come your way. So they're going to go out to collect some trees. These guys are going to collect some of these over here. Actually, maybe. We don't have a farm yet. Let's see if we get a farm. So we get a granary, we can get a press. A carpenter is very good because tools are useful for a lot of things. We got a, maybe an arbalist camp might be useful in this climate. And do we, okay, we have a clothier, so if we need to make coats later, that'll be useful. I know it seems like a weird thing to be excited about, but running out of clothes or oddly specific things in this one can be a bit of an issue. I was hoping that we would get a small farm or something so we can go patch that thing, but oh well, I guess not. Instead we'll go for insects over here. Everybody's living on a bug diet now, and we'll get 2 of our people on that. Go ahead and get them going there. So you might have noticed all of our different people here are going to be different race types and whatever else. So like the lizards are better at hunting things, the people are better at farming things, the beavers are better at dealing with wood stuff and mining and whatnot. The harpies make better apothecaries. The foxes are good at scouting areas out and getting world events done faster. Um, but uh, but yeah, in general, you're while those things matter, you're oftentimes going to find yourself not really necessarily dealing with sort of the ideal of what you'd like, as it were. Let's see. Silent looting, so this will reduce hostility. Or we've got meat specialization. You managed to enlist some excellent hunters. Meat increases by +1 every 25 times it's reduced. Or scouts work 10% faster on glade events for every firekeeper. Okay, I'm going to go for this because every time you open up a new area, there's a chance of getting a supply cache. And if those supply caches are reducing hostility, that would be good. So in this case, we've got the hostility of the forest that's going and scaring our workers, potentially up to the point that they just run away if it gets too spooky. So in this case, our number of woodcutters is potentially an issue for them. It's probably the biggest issue for them. So we'll need to build more hearths, but for the time being, we just need to explore a little bit and trying to get as far as we can to try and get a few events going. So we've got a need for housing or deliver some wood, and this will give us some additional people. So we'll go for one of those. Over here, we've got an order for delivering some tools or delivering some eggs. But we've already got these eggs, so we'll go ahead and grab that one and deliver it right away. And over here, we've got, let's see, rain engines installed. Have at least 2 buildings with rain engines. This one seems a bit more likely to happen. This one will give us a few bits and pieces, some kind of components that we can use for building things. And we're going to assign one person here, who will then build these required bits and pieces over here. Hopefully building, looks like we need 4 building, 3 provisions, 3 crops. So we'll go ahead and go up this to 4. Put this to 3, put this to 3, and there we go. Hopefully they'll get those jobs done, and it shouldn't drain too many resources from everything else. As far as delivering some wood and gaining some basic housing, most of our housing is already getting underway, so we should be fine there. That problem should already be resolved, and then we can submit that order. And so this is basically how you win maps, that you go into location and you got to get your blue bar to full. The exception is those seals, which are kind of how you end every one of your cycles, wherein you basically have to find where the source of the storm is coming from, and then have to complete a multitude of different objectives in order to get it sealed off. You can't actually win those by attrition. And so what this creates ultimately is this constant feeling of progress, this constant feeling of just sort of good work, as it were. So I personally love that feeling. It's just it's basically the same feeling that you get for like working around the house or fixing something that was broken. This feeling that you can just sort of stop and kind of reflect and just sort of work on the problem, just deal with one thing at a time, one thing at a time. There might be a million problems, we could just sort of stop and deal with another and deal with another, and apparently we got a treasure stag. Okay, well, considering that our situation's fairly dire, in this case, I think we're going to dedicate all of our woodcutters towards getting towards that thing, and I think our closest location is going to be right here. So we'll go ahead and just order them to chop straight through these woods right here. I love the UI design of this game. Like, the UI design is so dang useful for everything. Like, it's just exactly where you'd want something to be. You click on a resource, you have exactly what buildings you have that might be able to make them work. You need to have woodcutters temporarily focus on one particular zone. You can highlight that area out and have it do its thing. It just feels so good. Let's go ahead and spend some points, see if we can get ourselves well, I mean, I guess it's a plantation. It'll work. So that'll give us some stuff. It'll give us some berries and plant fibers anyway. So that'll give us at least our first farm, because I'd like to stockpile some food before the hostility gets too high. So we'll go ahead and install a few farmers right here. Go ahead and get them doing their thing. We've got several farm areas kind of good to go. And these guys have 3 minutes to chop their way through the woods. I don't necessarily know that they'll have enough time, but if we do something like that, that should hopefully take them a lot less time to do, because we've got 6 people on this thing right now, Surely they can make it. But yeah, overall the victory conditions are relatively simple. You get the blue bar to the left to win. You lose if the red bar gets to the right. But the funny part is, every one of these different maps that you go into with all of these different modifiers can have fun alternate effects. Like one of them was nearby a cult of fish, more or less, that was preventing the use of a lot of our basically just didn't allow orders to happen. So there's no way to get points in the normal manner. And so instead, it was a case of trying to find caches in the woods to go send back to base in order to actually win in that situation. So that was fascinating. Or in other cases, you just have certain resources that aren't available. Or in other cases, you can't prefer your people. I forget if I think I mentioned that already, actually. But yeah, it's just really cool to see that. Also, we got a treasure stag. So what do we get? We can get a cursed treasure, so capturing the mythical stag will earn you reputation and fame, but the forest will remember this insult. Or they offer a moderate increase to your reputation. You gain the favor of the spirits, which pleases your villagers. I feel like we need all the help we can get about not pissing off the forest. So the treasure stag vanishes into the mist, leaving you with a gift of gratitude and its empathy. So the forest god has blessed your villagers. +1 to global resolve, and we get half of a point towards victory. Alright, fair enough. And then we got to deal with this fish thing. So, we can either burn it down, or we can try to take care of it, but I don't think we have the means to do that at the moment. We just barely have the means to burn it down, but if we don't burn this thing down, we end up, end up having longer rain seasons, and we end up getting another death point, as it were. So, we'll go ahead and assign that guy to handle that. It'll take him about 4 minutes. That's in-game time, by the way, if you're wondering why it's maybe a little bit faster. So we'll go ahead and move that there. And I'm thinking we cut into a few locations, like right here, and then I probably dismantle one of these camps. Because we're already kind of getting to the point that the forest is getting kind of pissed. And frankly, the whole idea of the doom counter for potentially gaining or losing your situation here, that like if you end up making the queen angry, you lose. It just constantly makes me think of that Family Guy meme of like, oh, are you trying to piss off the volcano? Because she is basically a giant sentient volcano or something, I think. So that's fun. Anyway, let's see. We got, if we can make tools, we can get all of these sent back for an easy victory condition. I'm thinking since we did get the means of doing that, that's probably going to be the way to do it. So we'll get a carpenter built over here, which we can't quite make much use of yet, because currently our workshop here only has one person in it. So we'll go ahead and get rid of one of the mushroom people, put one of you in there, and then that should give us the resources to do what we need later. So that's good. Anyway, so this is basically how they all go. You just enter into a map until you get to one with a seal. You're just kind of going in rainy seasons, dry seasons, dealing with every problem as you can, trying to sort of nip problems in the bud before they come. Alright, let's see. Completing a forbidden event reduces the hostility gain from dangerous and forbidden glades by 4, and from small by 2. The bonus is added retroactively. Or, one who lives in harmony with himself lives in harmony with all. Every glade event solved by making a decision marked as empathy lowers hostility by 40. And we can reduce hostility right now if we pick this one. So we kind of want to pick more right side options, which is usually what we want to do anyway. So, alright, what do we got here? Can rebuild this thing, which will be a means to make coats and things, or we can salvage it. Kind of feel like we don't really have the means to deal with it right now. Thankfully, though, it's nothing that's scaring anyone or anything, so we should be fine there. And we get more people. So more people can do more stuff, and these guys came close, so that's going to improve our performance a little bit. So we'll go do one of those. I'll go ahead and put somebody in here to go make tools. Yeah, if we get any wine, these guys can package it up. But for the most part, they're just making tools. And yeah, that probably should be good there. Let's see. What are you guys lacking? So they can't make provision packs because they don't have what they think they need, so we'll make it out of food instead. They can't make building packs because we don't have any of the stuff to make it, which is understandable because we're not making it yet. Okay. But yeah, so this is more or less how it goes. Like, every map, you just kind of do this. You have different modifiers to every one of those maps, and you just deal with the problems as they come. You stop, you deal with them again. And this constant, meditative, joyous process is just absolutely wonderful. So I really love it. As far as this kind of format and stuff like that, you really like, you see the occasional sort of peaceful RTS of sorts, as it were, but it's not very often that you see it pulled off this just calmingly. Like, it just has a very nice calming effect that I know personally I really kind of needed this week. So to my mind, it's really dang awesome in that regard. And yeah, would I recommend it wholeheartedly? This game's fantastic. Would 100% recommend it. Let's see, use 120 units of rain of any kind. Well, I think we're more likely to discover glades, because we don't have any rain engines set up yet. There's just sort of a thing where you collect rain and use it to power engines. Just go with it. It's just how stuff works here. All right, anyways, so yeah, that's about that. Great game. You should try it. Very, 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 very relaxing, and I know for a lot of us out there, it's definitely one of those weeks that could use a little bit of a relaxing day. So if that's what you're looking for, here it is. All right, so y'all have yourselves a good one. I gotta get going, and y'all take care.